right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3.
Yo, it's pictures from the book
This is the voice of reason. I'm baby Oprah. Voice of reason. Voice of reason. How y'all doing out here tonight? Welcome to another episode of The Voice of Reason. And of course, you know, I have a very special episode set for you guys. I know I say that all the time, but this one is really special because it speaks to something that I'm going through now. And I have two very great friends who actually, one, have been kind of part of my inspiration into the space that I'm in now, but also I'm sure have a lot of gems based on their own personal journey on this topic that we're going to talk about. I'm not going to drop it on y'all now. I'm going to let them introduce themselves first, and then we'll get right into it. Rana, want to go first?
All right, hi everybody. My name is Rana Campbell, and I am the Chief Dream Driver over at Dreams and Drive, which is a podcast that's all about helping people take their dreams from park to drive. I started it in January 2016, and from there it's been growing like crazy. I actually just passed our 925,000 download mark. So,
that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Congratulations.
I've been hustling since then, interviewing all types of people from fashion, lifestyle, the creative realm, really talking about like what was it that helped you along your dream driving journey, your keys to success. So that's a little bit about me. I love stories. I'm a storyteller at heart. And I'm just trying to inspire people to know that their story matters and they can do whatever they want, what they want to do.
We're gonna pick from that. What's up, Kevin?
It's a hard one to follow. So everybody, my name is Kevin Celisca. I'm the co-founder of Integrate, an educational software to help streamline the management tools in schools such as K-12. So right now we're currently testing with a few schools in America, but we got one of our biggest clients in South Africa. So we're excited to expand our software to help improve students' performance, teacher performance, and helping principals making better informed decisions on how to better use their school resources. Okay, now I know y'all wondering why you got a podcaster and a tech integrate thing going on here, but we all actually have something in common. I met Rana at an event I went to. Shout out to Kadi Sakara, and she was a guest speaker. I think you would be honored there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she is a podcaster, so it's like I gotta connect with her. And I remember the first thing you said was you quit your job, right?
Yeah.
And you went full-fledged into your podcasting. And with Kevin's been my friend since college, close friend. He's like a male version of me. He also was working for a huge accounting firm, one of the big four.
Ernst & Young.
Ernst & Young. And he also quit his job. And it's crazy because I'm big on following people's success stories and listening to success stories and talking to other people because I have dreams of my own. And the main thing I always hear is either someone that quit their job or slept in their car or was like poor, like did something drastic. And I always felt like, oh my God, okay, what's gonna be my success story? Because I can't afford to quit my job right now. I definitely can't afford to live in my car. Not only, even before I had my daughter, it was just like, okay, that's not an option for me. It's all about security. Like I went to school, I need to make sure I get my bills paid. And as of now, as we speak, I quit my job. And I never thought that I would ever get to this point. I'm going to tell a little bit about my story so we can kind of get into the real bulk of things. But one thing I learned is that, you know, I always used to preach, use your 9-to-5 to fund your dream, right? That's always been the big thing. Like, yeah, we got bills, we got responsibility. Get you a 9-to-5 and fund your dream. But what people don't realize that is there is a point where you have to, one, I feel like the 9-to-5 hustle comes with a mentality as well that keeps you stagnant and also keeps you from taking that leap to your dream because you're used to getting a check handed to you every 2 weeks, every week, right? Yeah. And that security, you get immune to that. Like you can't see life any other way. And 9 out of 10 times, whatever your dream is, it starts as a dream and it starts small. Not everyone has like Donald Trump's parents where you can get a small loan of $1 million. Like I don't know about y'all, but I know I definitely don't have that. So it was like, you know, I felt like I realized from me leaving my job that even before leaving my job, I got into a space of, geez, it's not that I was using my 9-to-5 to fund my dream. I was using my 9-to-5 for security. And that was also keeping me back from really going 100% into my goals and dreams. So I want to, you know, we're going to get into each other's story. Before I give the full-blown thing, I want to hear what made you leave your job.
Well, I was kind of forced to leave my job, so
Kind of same. Okay, yeah.
only because I had been since graduating from college, I always was doing something on the side. So when I first graduated, 2013, I had my blog, RanaECampbell.com. I was writing for different sites. I got this new job working at an e-commerce marketing company, e-commerce fulfillment company, working in the marketing department. But I was still always kind of doing my thing on the side. So I would like have my, my job work on the big window and I had my other stuff in the little window trying to do both at the same time. So I feel like my coworkers knew that this wasn't the best, like this wasn't what I really, really wanted to do, but I was doing my job to like, let's say 80%. Like I was doing an okay job. They couldn't fire me because it wasn't like I was being bad at what I was doing. But it got to a point where I don't think I actually told this full story before, but my boss at the time took me out to eat. He said, it was like a, informal conversation. And he asked me about my goals. Like, what's your 5-year goals? And I said, I want to be a media mogul. But my job is in marketing at an e-commerce fulfillment company.
Right.
So at my review, he basically put on the review, Rana wants to be a media mogul. I don't think this job aligns with her future goals. And so I was put on a 30-day probation. And through that whole period, it was kind of like, I had to ask myself, like, is this where I really want to be? And did I really want to be doing the most for a job that maybe was not in line with where I saw myself going? It was secure. I was getting money. I was, like, stacking that. But, I knew there was more out there. So I just decided to put my 2 weeks in. I said, I'm not going to do this. Let's just be real.
Right.
And August 2018 was when I quit. And I'm here now.
Wow.
A year later.
Oh, that's crazy because I feel like our stories was kind of similar. Prior, I always knew I wanted to work in media, right? At the time, it was like, I'm going to be a television host. Yeah, I know I'm Oprah, baby Oprah. Like, I was always big into media, but I didn't know exactly what. I just knew I was good at speaking, and I wanted to inspire. So my first job out of college was a heat and oil company. But the crazy thing about it was only paying me like $11 an hour. It was my best job. Like literally, it was a small company. The CEO knew they would let me be crazy all day long. He would lie and tell customers I'm the CEO and let me get on the phone and entertain people. Customers would call like, you need to be in radio. You're just like so funny. And then, but I was still in the back of my mind like, no, I graduated school. Everyone said you will be this big thing. Like I made a big deal in college. I'm going to be a media. I hosted all the shows. So it was like for me to graduate and be working at a heat and oil company, I wasn't satisfied. So at first I was like, all right, God. I had a lot of dope internships. Like I interned for the Wendy Williams show, MTV. I did 3 internships. I'm like, whatever way it happens, I'm going to get a decent job out of school. And of course that didn't happen. And then after that, I'm like, all right, God, just give me a job that at least make me make $15 an hour so I can afford to do some stuff on the side and pay my bills. So granted, he gave me another job in the medical field. And I was totally depressed. Like, that's when I found out about FMLA. Like, I was going to the doctor. I was like, I need a break. I cannot come here. I was a call center. You're literally a robot talking to somebody on the phone 24/7. So in the midst of that is when I got the opportunity to work at Viacom. And that was a huge deal. It was like, I don't even know at the time I didn't know what the role was, but it's like, I got my foot in the door. This is God's sign right here. Like, I'm about to go in. And of course, I went in, and ultimately what people don't realize about the 9-to-5 struggle, even if you have a good job or working in your field, I feel like the corporate setting in general is like depressing. Like when I interned for like the creative department, these are people who are creating the commercials, creating the content for the BET Awards, things that kids are dying to do, coming into work every day as if they're working at McDonald's, that depressed. Like the smoke breaks be real outside of these corporate offices. So you get caught up into that world. I remember people be calling like, Viacom gets a lot of celebrities. They're like, oh, Diddy's downstairs. You're like, I don't even care. I'm going to do my work and get out of here. Like, that's how depressed you became. So I realized that instantly I lost my motivation. I just got tied into that whole 9-to-5. I'm going to just work, go home. And eventually we all got laid off. Now, the crazy thing is with us being laid off, I experienced like so much, I don't want to say racism is the word. We all know black people don't got the same experience as our counterparts, white people. And the corporate setting, no matter what industry, is something that throws it in your face every chance you get. And that's the part that becomes so depressing because it makes you internalize it. And whether you realize it or not, you internalize it. And I think that ties into you kind of losing track of where you want to go or your dreams and your goals and stuff. Long story short, my last job, I'm not even going to name what it was, but I had a similar experience to yours, but it wasn't that similar in the sense of it was very traumatic. My director, which is my boss's boss, who was in the, she was always in the office with us, was wild, to say the least, okay? Older white woman. I mean, my first day of work was her coming into the very corporate office and calling people idiots, people who are twice my age, saying the most inappropriate things, like, just wow. And I was the youngest person in my department, and I'm just like, but I don't know. It's not even just about the security of the 9 to 5. Also having foreign parents. I know you're Jamaican, you're Haitian. Mm-hmm. I just grew up with family. We get up, we go to work, we don't complain. You know what I'm saying? My mom and dad, they struggle. You know what I'm saying? Working at an airport, wheelchair, making $5 an hour. Like, so I just grew up in that state of mind where when I hear people complain about their job, like, I don't know if it's like, no, it's you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just go to work, don't complain, and get your money and go home. This was the first time I experienced something where it was like, at first I was like, you know what? I'm going to just stay out her way because I know me. I know my mouth. I was like, as long as she don't bring that crazy my way, we're going to be good. But it came a point where it was like, oh, this is her power tactic. Like, she didn't necessarily know how to do her job as a director. Her way of doing it was a scare tactic. So she would do favoritism. She would talk to people a certain type of way. And I think she noticed that I wouldn't entertain it. These are people twice my age in their giggling at her childish behavior. Like, her bullying almost made me feel like we were in 5th grade again. Like, the way she would talk to people. So it came to a point, Kevin would attest, my mentor would attest, I used to be on my lunch break in tears. Like, I can't do this. But at the time, I'm like, quitting my job is not an option. I have bills and but aside of my personal experience with it, the main thing for me was like, these people are here, and what you will always hear them say, like my other employees at the time were just like, well, I hate it here, but I just come and get my check and leave. And these are people like that were older than me, so it was really a mirror reflection of this is what I don't want to become. And when I got into that reality, it was like, okay, I got to figure out a way. So long story short, they tried to give me the whole probation route. I reported her to HR. That didn't work. It went even more left for me. It was a big thing, but this is why I feel like this topic here is important, because I want us to really tackle like the misconceptions a lot of people have about the 9 to 5 versus your passion. But before we get into that, I want you to tell your story.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't forget about you.
That's all right. So before I got into the entrepreneurship world, I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I always thought being an entrepreneur was a headache. Honestly, mm-hmm. I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to do that. Having employees, no way. I'd rather just be a 9 to 5. But all of that changed during my college years. So when I actually had the opportunity to study abroad in London, Italy, and China, when I was living there, it gave me a whole new perspective of how life can actually be. And there was more to life than just being an accountant. So when I came back from China to start my career in Ernst & Young as an accountant, I was an auditor. And as I was becoming an auditor, the money was pretty good. My family, I was like my family safety net, so my family always depended on me to take care of all the bills. So it was pretty good. But at the same time, I felt my soul dying. And I read a book called The Alchemist, which actually helped me.
Yes.
Yeah, The Alchemist, right? The Alchemist just showed me how life is supposed to go, and where if you don't follow that feel inside, that personal legend, and you don't pay attention to your surroundings, then you're missing out on God telling you your message. Because when you're doing a 9 to 5, you're so you get to the point where you're autopilot, where you can't pay attention to God talking to you, because God talks to you through all these different signs, but you're so focused and depressed, and your energy is not where it needs to be, that you're just missing all the things that's calling you to your actual calling. But you're just focused on this task that doesn't have more meaning to you. So as I was doing this auditing thing, I'm like learning, and I'm getting more disciplined. I'm learning all the skills, because let me tell you, it's good to do corporate, but you gotta like learn that you can take all these skills that you're learning and use it for something you can use. So I was
corporate, don't let corporate do you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I saw it as stepping stones. Like, okay, this is a stepping stone. And then after a certain point, I looked at all these people who were ahead of me on like your senior managers, and everybody had their CPAs. I didn't have my CPA. CPA is a certified public accountant. So I didn't have that license. So I was thinking to myself, do I want this CPA? And I asked all the managers, like, hey, did this CPA, did it change your life? Are you happy? And they're like, no, just pays the bills. And my wife, it helps me pay the bills and keeps my wife happy. And I'm like, do you get to see my wife? And I was like, do you get a chance to see your wife? And they're like, barely. I hope she's not cheating on me. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Then I started thinking to myself, I don't think I want this lifestyle. But after reading The Alchemist and changing my mindset into an entrepreneur mindset, because I would listen to like books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, motivational speakers like Jim Rohn, and they shifted my mindset to what you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur and the mindset. Because at the end of the day, you're never going to have enough information to get started. All you have to do is have the mindset thinking, I'm going to make it, and I have the skill sets to figure it out. Because at the end of the day, when I was at Ernest & Young, they'll throw me on projects that I had no clue on what I was doing. I had to figure it out. So what's the difference if I didn't know what I'm doing? I might as well take what I don't know and do it for my own self and struggle. So then at the certain point, December 2015, I was working there for like a year and a half. At December 2015, I felt a voice inside, a very loud voice that kept saying, "You gotta quit." And I kept trying to negotiate with the voice, like, "Hey, listen, give me until October 2016." They were like, "No, December 2015, you have to quit." I'm like, "Wait, what about March?" I was like, negotiating. I'm like, "Wait." And then the last thing the voice told me was like, "If you do not quit, this will be the biggest regret of your life." And at that point, I realized I have no choice because I don't want to have that kind of regret, the biggest regret. Like that's what it was telling me. So I made the quit, and ever since I made that quit, I got to meet all the key people I need to meet that following month to basically expand my company. So yeah.
That's
like divine alignment right there.
Exactly. But that's how it goes. I thought it was so odd for me. I remember I reached a point was like, I'm not going to be here Monday. I don't know what's finna happen, but I cannot do another day. I was literally waking up sick to my stomach going to work every day. And I don't think it was just the environment. I feel like prior to me starting my last job, I always tell myself, I'm not going to be here over a year. With any job, I give myself a timeline. Like this, because I feel like we grow up in this American school system where you're used to, okay, first grade, then I go to second grade, then I go to third grade, fourth grade. I'm like, so when I graduated college, I was like, this is it? Like, you mean to tell me, I'm used to, life leveling up for me in a certain way, and now it's just like I'm just gonna work and be this way forever. So I've never stayed at a job for over 2 years because I will always give myself a deadline. But the crazy thing is, I never would plan for that deadline. I would just say it and something would happen. Like with my last job, we all got laid off, but prior to me getting laid off, I already had found a job. So it was like, it was all working out a certain way. And I just had this gut feeling like I'm not going to be here by Monday. So I used to be at my desk calculating my finances. Like, all right, gotta pay this bill could wait, I'm going to pay this. Let me be able to survive off of this and figure things out. So I think that voice that you speak about is so important. But I want us to talk about, what do you think is the greatest mistake? Because, of course, everyone can't quit their job. And, that's not everyone's success story. But what do you think is some of the greatest mistakes you guys personally felt like you made in your 9-to-5 that made you stagnant with your passion or your side hustle?
That's a good question.
I know exactly. And I get mad at myself every time. One, when I was working my 9-to-5, I wish I saved money. I kept going on vacation. I should have had some money saved, or I should have had...
We gonna talk about that. Yes, not even vacation. People say, "Oh, I'm just getting my 9-to-5. This is what I'm gonna do and set up my dreams." And next thing you know, you get this new increase, or you're making this money, and you're creating a comfortable lifestyle around it. That's the biggest issue. I think we all do.
I was cheap as hell.
Smart. I was like, I'm gonna get this car. I'm gonna get a new car. Then it's like, I just felt like I've had 3 jobs out of college, and every one I got an increase in pay, and every increase I did not see. I felt like naturally my life would just conform to this new income, and that's the biggest mistake I think a lot of
that's called lifestyle inflation.
Yes.
Yeah.
That word.
I think my biggest thing was not taking more risk at the job, because I felt like my job was pretty small, so it was only at the beginning it was just me and the chief marketing officer. We kind of built out the team. But I just kind of stayed in that comfortable role and never really finessed as much as I could have finessed, because I was in the company with all white men, right? And that's what they do. They finesse the hell to get to the next level to make more money. Like, I
That's a
should have
fact.
been finessing
Yes.
my role and making even more money and not just being comfortable being like an okay worker. So I just feel like, damn, I should have just like tried to finesse, you know, really like at least go a little bit harder so I could make more money, so I could have stacked
Yes.
more or have some more leverage or even like increase my title or something.
Right.
I just felt like I kind of just was content with being an 80% worker. And in that realm, like, I could have probably gotten more skill sets that would have helped me with Dreams and Drive now.
Do you feel like you lacked passion because it wasn't your purpose?
I feel like I like the marketing. I had a lot of creativity. It's just that I was also trying to build Dreams and Drive at the same time. So I was like, I can't give y'all both.
That is a fact. That's a major fact.
Yeah, and I knew if I had gave that one more, I probably wouldn't have gotten as far with Dreams and Drive as I had. So it was kind of like a...
The biggest realization I came to with myself is that I do not know how to give 100% to things that I'm not passionate about. And I don't know if we were designed to think that way because you go through school and people are always asking, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? You know what I'm saying? Then you go to college. What's your major? So you get so tied into the idea that life is what you want it to be, only to be put in a position like what you need to do is pay your bills. And you're put in a position where I was in that same predicament where white people, we're going to talk about the list of things that corporate America could teach you. And that's what white people know how to finesse, okay?
They put each other on, they put their friends on.
Yes, and they just finesse. You'll see a lot of people in positions like, you don't
even know what you're doing.
But you there. So it's like, I could do this and put you in a position like you. I think a lot of times we put ourselves, I know for me, I realize we give so much leverage to these big companies and the people in these higher positions. And it's like, they're no smarter than you. They don't know as much as, and the same energy that they're putting into their company, you can go and make your own millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you said something that, what were we just talking about?
Not going as hard.
Not going as hard, yes.
You know what I was going to say too, sorry. It's something that I'm even talking about on an episode of my podcast this week, is this idea that I realized that I was scared to go 100% because I was kind of scared of success and not being able to handle it. And the woman who I was talking to, Denise Dazzle Harris, she was like, you know, maybe you need to affirm with yourself that peace and success can coexist. Because for so long, like in my head, it's like, what if I go real hard on Dreams and Drive and it gets really big? Will I be able to handle it? Will I want it? And then that's part of the reason why I think I was so comfortable at the job, giving it 80%, giving Dreams and Drive 80%, and not... I sometimes feel like I didn't give Dreams and Drive 100%. Because maybe it would have been even bigger. It could have been even bigger, but part of me is just like a little bit fearful of, will I be able to manage it all?
Do you still feel that way now? Or you?
Yeah, I do. Like, and I feel like I'm trying to work through it and I'm doing more things, but part of me is like, am I really going 100%? Could I be going more? That's like the biggest thing that I'm working through right now.
I feel like it's so much harder now not to go 100%. I feel like I've been going, with my experience, it was like, oh yeah, you really don't have no other option. Because I'm so traumatized to go back to a 9-to-5 or go back to something where I'm not happy. Like the biggest thing I said I realized was, if, God forbid, I would have got hit by a bus around the time that I was at this job. When I tell you I would have went out as the saddest soul in the world, that's how depressed I was in that state. And it's like, as much as we say, oh, this is just to pay the bills, or I really don't care about this, these 9-to-5s are just living in a life lacking purpose, because you spend, 8 hours, probably even more if you have a job that requires, overtime at these places. We're investing time whether we want to admit it or not. You are giving 100% by just waking up and being there every day. And it's like, and it's the times where it's like, oh, I'm trying to post while I be at work and we not supposed to be on our phones. It's like, this 9-to-5 is in the way right now. It's really in the way. So it's like, the opportunity you get to just take a break and just focus on yourself is like, okay, no. When you start to put into perspective everything that you was, all the time you were wasting at that 9-to-5, it's like, now I have 24 hours to put into this. Oh no, I'm not sleeping. You know what's
funny though, when we talking about this before about money, I sometimes wonder if I hadn't saved so much, would I be going harder now?
Oh yeah.
Part of me is like, all right, well, I saved enough. Like, I was smart. I negotiated with them. I'm like, well, if I leave voluntarily, y'all need to give me unemployment for 6 months. So
Oh, yeah,
I
I
had
got
my
that.
unemployment, so then it's like, all right, so I have that money, I'm able to pay my bills. So I felt like I was still kind of, I've always had a safety net. And it's funny because you were talking about, like, you don't feel like you have that success story that's like, not everyone has that rags to riches story. And I'm like, yo, do I need to have, like, someone steal my car?
Right.
Like, hope nobody does, right? Now, I get, but, you know, like, do I need to have this big, like, I'm like, I don't have that moment. But then I think it's also trying to compare my moment to other people's moments. And we all have stories, they all matter. But I think I keep trying to find this, like, I need a rags to riches. I need someone to come, like, take everything from me. That shouldn't be what's motivating me.
Right, at all.
And so that's what I'm trying to figure out now, even with Dreams and Drive, is, like, what's your why? Why are you doing this? And what's really going to be the real motivation? Are you really doing what you really, really wanted to? Because that's what I'm even thinking now. Like, I love storytelling. There's a part of my storytelling that involves, like, visuals that I have not done. And it's like, well, maybe I'm just scared to do it. Maybe that's the thing that I'll go hard for if I really do it. So I'm thinking of all this stuff. But I think having, like, a financial safety net has kind of made me a little complacent.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. I'm being honest.
This is actually good because so mine was the opposite. So when I left my job, I only had $1,000 in the bank, and I still was paying rent. So there's a pressure that comes that if you don't make it, because for me, I told you my parents depended on me. So my pressure came from, all right, I gotta pay my rent, and I gotta pay my dad and my mother. So I had to, like, it forced me to do things that I never did before. So I was doing event planning.
I'm about to say, you're selling dirt. And listen, don't start 6ix9ing on yourself over there.
So I was doing event planning. I was doing Lyft, Uber. I was doing consulting. I was doing things that I normally would not do. So the pressure actually pushed me to, like, push the software even faster, recruit people. So it made me, honestly, if I did have saving, I don't think my company would have expanded as quickly because I felt the urgency. Like, every day I woke up like, yo, I gotta find a way to survive. It was like this is old philosophy where before someone went to war, you will go to an island to fight the enemy, and then once you get to the enemy island, you're supposed to destroy your ship. So you have to fight the enemy or die on the island. So it changes your mentality. It's an old Greek philosophy where you crash in there and you have to die, keep fighting or die right here. So it's like a do or die mentality where your mind just shifts to a different type of mind space. Like, I need to find a way to survive, and just things just magically starts happening, and you start meeting the right people, and then you don't waste time. Like, your mindset is different. You're just like, you become, because when you feel pressure, your mind gets even sharper. It's like it's like the sharpest of your mindset, because you're like, I don't have room for no error. Like, you just you're so laser focused where you don't even entertain nonsense conversation. You're like, yo, what
but could it also be emotional, not just being financially, like, in a tough place? Could it also be, like, I know for me, more so, not really the financial aspect, but it's more so, like, I never want to feel like this ever again. Ever again. I don't ever want to be put in a position where, one, I'm not in a place where it's not passion driven, or I feel forced to be stuck in a toxic work environment. So for you guys, have you ever had any emotional?
Yeah, I feel like for me it was knowing that I'll keep returning. Like, every job that I had, I always had some kind of storytelling. I figured out, like, a way to, like, do interviews at the job, like something. So it was like, why am I running from this gift? Because everywhere I go, it keeps coming back to me. So it's like, I need to actually use it, because what if it gets taken away from me, right?
Right.
So I think it was this, like, thought for me. I don't want to keep running from it. I need to actually embrace it. And it's kind of like when you love a child, it'll blossom, right? So if I love it enough and stop running from it and just succumb, all right, Raina, you good at talking. Just do something with it and just really put it out there. It will grow. And I feel like in the past year of quitting my job, so many, like, different opportunities have come up, and just having the flexibility to pursue them is the biggest thing. Because when you're at your job, like, you can't, like, I couldn't just, like, have a 12 o'clock meeting in New York with somebody, or, like, I couldn't go to Atlantic Records to interview this person. It wouldn't be, I wouldn't have the time.
Right.
I would have to ask someone for permission to pursue my dreams.
Right.
And I don't like that. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to have to ask anyone permission to do something that's part of my gift.
Right.
So I think that was the emotional push. Like, do you want to be controlled by somebody? Do you want to be in control?
Ooh, child.
Yeah.
You just, You just said a no.
And I feel like I'm like a control. I have like a type A personality where I like being in control. So it's like.
And the worst part is when you're being controlled, or you're in a position where you have to be controlled by someone who is clearly not smart. Not even not smart. Like for me, it's like my meetings with my director that I didn't get along with. It's like, okay, we'll sit here and we have to talk about work, but honey, I really want to tell you about yourself, and not even in a disrespectful way, but since you need therapy, and it's like she'll make it. I actually had a moment where I told her, I use the word, okay, I feel very dismiss, like I feel like you dismiss me when I speak up in meetings. I didn't say her at first. I said I feel like I'm being dismissed when I speak up at team meetings. She said, oh no, that is a problem. We need to get to the bottom of it. Who do you feel this way by? You. And sis did a whole 360. She couldn't even take the criticism. And it's like, how are you in a leadership position? And here go my two managers who are like afraid of her, like she's Adolf Hitler, just shaking in their boots. And it's like, I never want to be an adult like that ever again. But Kevin, you talk a lot about you like taking care of your family, and just with family in general. What role did they play in your lives when you told them you quit your job?
Oh man, it was like hell. Because they were telling me, you better not quit. So it was like, before I told them I was going to quit, there was a lot of resistance. Mm-hmm. Like I even had close friends who had good intentions at the job was telling me, Kev, honestly, I don't think you're going to make it. I think you need more time in the job. So you're hearing all these people trying to tell you, listen, you might need more time. It's only been a year and a half. You just graduated college. You need a little bit more time. Because this is back in 2015. And I graduated 2013 as well. So I was like, no, I think I could do this, guys. I did my research after work. I think I could do this. And then they were like, Kev, listen, there's a lot more than you don't know. I'm like, listen, I know most average CEOs, all they have is 10% information and they take action on it. So I'm like, I don't see no difference from them and me. The only difference is they have more time. So I need to make that time into myself. I can't keep putting all this time to other people. It's like time is of the essence. If anything, the time is worth more than money. So I'm like, guys, I gotta do this, because if I don't do this, someone else is gonna take it. So I told my mom started crying. My mom started crying. My brother was like, Kev, man, like how what about college?
This is after you quit. I
was telling them before I was gonna quit, and then I quit, and then my mom started crying. It was a lot of resistance. And my mom was like, you bum.
And I hate your accent.
Yeah.
I'm so done.
Yeah, so it wasn't a lot of supportive people in the beginning. I like my close friends, they were like, yeah, you can do this, but like, your family members were like, no, you're not gonna get this thing right. But then, I just kept going, stay positive, because at the end of the day, no one's not gonna live your life but yourself.
Right.
So I'm gonna tell myself, you know what, I'm not gonna have no regret, I'm gonna keep pushing it. But at the same time, I knew I had to find different ways to supplement the expenses for like my family and stuff. Like moving forward now, my mom is self-sufficient, my dad's self-sufficient. For the first time, I can focus on myself. So that's pretty good.
Do you feel like that situation created that?
Yes, because of the pressure of like, how do you make it? How do you?
Yeah.
The pressure put away where. It put pressure on me where I gotta find a unique way to create like financial vehicles where the money could start going to my parents and my brother, my everybody else. They be self-sufficient so I can focus on myself. Because when I was making all that money, there wasn't a lot of pressure. I had like that Amex card from Ernest & Young where it was unlimited. I kept swiping like, oh, problem, no problem. So it didn't give having all that money didn't give me an opportunity to think sometimes. And just getting that pressure of like, okay, now I gotta really use my mind. I can't just use money to bail myself out.
Right.
So then that's when I was like thinking of very creative ways of like finessing in certain different areas in technology and life and gigs and getting to know people, and just so that actually helped. Honestly, that pressure helped me get to another level where I could see where I am 10 years from now. Like building bridges and working with the government. Like I can see where I want to go, but I wouldn't be able to see that if I didn't get to a very dark depression place. Because like that, for like when you get into that dark depressing place, it's easy to let like sinister stuff get into your thought process, thinking you're not enough, or you're not gonna make it, you're an idiot. Like you have all these things, and then people start getting imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is so true. It's like, how are you gonna be a tech entrepreneur when you never went to school for technology? You don't know how this thing works. And for me, what I learned is sometimes you just gotta go in it and get criticized. Because when I got into the technology community, I got disrespected. constantly. They were like, "Do you even know what an API is? Do you even know what this?" I didn't know what it was, and I kept getting violated. But at the same time, I was doing my research. Like, they ain't gonna do that to me again. So every time I got attacked by the tech community, I did my research so they couldn't attack me again. So it got to the point where I was so efficient on how technology worked and how everything works. I started getting hired by other people to help them with the technology. So I started getting paid as a technology consultant in New York City. So I'm like, oh man, this is crazy, from all the criticism and sticking through it, because people think like a baby, when a baby can't walk and falls, it don't just stay on the floor, it continues walking. Right. So if you're going for your passion, you're going to be clumsy in the beginning. But then if you just keep at it, you're going to start walking.
You have to go
then
through
you
that.
Start running.
See, that's the thing with imposter syndrome. I've experienced it, and I think a lot of people will experience it when it comes to you just trying to take a leap of faith on your dreams, because it's like, if you're passionate about something, of course you study it, you study the people at the top and the successful people, and that becomes your marker for what it means to be that it factor. And when you're constantly comparing yourself to whatever your it factor is or whatever you consider success in that field, you don't even realize it. As the success is coming, as you're actually in it and doing it, you have this imposter syndrome. So one thing I always tell myself about imposter syndrome is the fact that you have to realize that your gift, whatever your it, I always call it your it. Everyone has an it factor, okay? It's not everyone's it factor doesn't have to be their form of income, but you have to put it out into the world. It didn't have nothing to do with you. Like, you being a great storyteller has nothing to do with Rana and how tall she is and her being black and this. It has nothing to do with your social status or your physical. It's what God gave you to put out into the world. And if you're not doing something that is allowing you to put it out in the world, or something is getting in the way of that, that's where the depression comes from, and that feeling of not having purpose. So I want to talk about.
I just want to talk about the family thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like my parents have been. So would you say your parents now are supportive of you?
Oh yeah, they're supportive.
Okay, like my parents in the beginning, I think they just thought it was a phase. So like, oh, she gonna quit her job and she'll figure it out. And they tried to, like, my mom was like, oh, my dad was an entrepreneur. I'm like, okay, mom. Right? But as the months went by and I realized, like, they realized I wasn't going back, and they're like, oh, so do you want to go to business school? You want to get your master's degree? They're like, they keep asking me what's next. So right now, like, a lot of my friends, my close friends, we're all kind of creatives. We're all kind of doing our own things. And my friend was over at my house the other day, and my dad made the comment. He's like, "Oh my gosh, so y'all are both hobos?" And I was like,
"No, he did."
But you know, the Jamaican accent, oh, you're both hobos. I'm like, yo, you can't say that. It's politically not correct, right? But I think he just, our parents love us.
Yeah.
And they just want to see you do better than them, and they can't understand it. But I'm like, yo, Dad, I have not asked y'all for no money this whole year. Like, don't worry about what I'm doing. Right. Like, I'm good. But I think my parents, like, they know that it's a gift of mine, but in their own mentality, they just can't fully accept it because they don't see it as being the most secure.
Yes.
And they came to this country for a better life. They came to be secure. They don't want to see their children not secure. So I think it's like, I'm like their biggest, like, what is she doing with her life?
Yeah,
oh
it gives them anxiety.
She's smart, me pay all this money for school. She don't want to, like, it's like, I feel like I disappoint them, but I have to realize that that's their projection. Yeah. I'm going to make it. And so that's the big thing that I'm realizing now, is separating this feeling of disappointing them and realizing I have to create my own journey.
Right.
And they live their life, right? So let me live mine.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think that's a big struggle that a lot of people experience, because a lot of us are the first in our family to take
it's like the black tax of having you technically, it's like you shouldn't have to be taking care of your parents because of the things, they're immigrants that came to this country. They kind of see you as like, you better make it for us. It's not just you, it's all of us you taking care of. And that can be depressed. Like, that can be like a lot of burden. Like,
right. And sometimes we put it on ourselves because that's the mentality we grew up in. Because I was in the same predicament where me and my sisters were taking care of my parents. And, that's why for me it was like, I always got to get my bills paid. It wasn't even about having to fly his gear or going on vacations. This is like, okay, I take care of my family. I got to make sure I'm bringing a check in every 2 weeks. But it's so odd because now that, like, my mom and them experienced my meltdown. First, I was just in my room crying in my corner, like, and it was really out of fear of disappointing them. And then, like, following my heart. Like, I can't continue to go to this place. But eventually my sister walked in and she saw me crying. I just broke down about everything that I was experiencing at work and how I feel like I can't continue to go there. And it was like, my mom just said one morning, she was like, leave that place if you have to leave it. And it's so odd because even the other day, I mean, like, she don't know how much I got in my account, but she'll just come like, here's $20. Someone just, like, you know, and it's like, sometimes you gotta, not even with your family, but the people you have around you, because your success story doesn't start at when you become successful. It's codependent with every area of your life. Your friends, your family, everybody has to be prepared for it, because for you to really follow your dreams, your environment has to be conducive to that dream you're following.
Yeah.
And you have to prepare them for that. Because even me, now everyone's like, okay, so did you apply for jobs? And I'm just like, because I don't like explaining myself to people who might not get it. And I'm very sensitive about my shit. Not even about my shit, but what I wanted to talk about is that voice you talk about and affirmations. And what are other spiritual, like, do you guys have any spiritual techniques that you follow to kind of keep you on track as far as following your dream?
I think I'm really big on affirmations.
Yes.
And like realizing you think, if so you think, so you be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing I realize is like taking inventory of what am I thinking and how am I feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have like, you know how you say you have those dark depressive moments, and it's like you could really take that energy into everything. That becomes kind of becomes toxic,
Yes.
right? Like if I'm feeling that, I'm projecting on you, then you're gonna feel it. It becomes like a whole
Like
room
a
of negative
virus.
energy. So realizing to myself, like, you really just gotta wake up, be like, yo, you got this. Sometimes I'm like, right, you got this, right? You got this.
Right.
My mom's like, what are you doing in there? I'm like, I'm talking to myself. Leave me alone. I got this. You got this, right? Like, I'm really big on. I feel like religiously, I wouldn't say I'm very religious, but I really think I've been taking a lot of time on trying to be more, like self-love is really important, and how you treat your body, how you treat yourself manifests itself in many ways in your life. So I've been really good at, well, not really good, I've been trying to be better at waking up and being very clear about who I am and how I visualize my life.
Yes.
Because it's hard when you really are just in it and you don't know what's next. And
Right.
there's no roadmap. There's no GPS of what I'm doing. It's like I'm creating it as I'm building the road and have to just trust it. I'm not going towards a cliff. You know?
Right. And then feeling like you have to answer to people as you just trying to figure it out. You feel like, I think as millennials, we always feel like we have to be sure. And one battle I had to find a way to conquer is to understand that I don't always gotta know. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to be at point A and necessarily know what's at point Z. I just could be present in point A and do whatever I gotta do to get there. But you said a key word, manifesting. And I'm big on that. Like, I really take moments where I sit Indian style in my room with incense and candles. Okay, maybe not that extra.
Okay.
But I have moments
It's
where
okay,
it's really big on manifesting. And one thing I realized for me is, like, you know, a lot of people use the word loosely. We all on our Nipsey saging era or whatever. And for me, manifesting it starts with your mind, and you really have to believe it. And when I say that is, a lot of people don't realize that your reality has to be realistic. Like, you can't sit here and be like, oh, I'm gonna manifest, I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna manifest it, and you're sitting in your living room and didn't do not one lick of medical, didn't even apply. You know what I'm saying? That's not, people think manifesting things work like magic. You really gotta believe it. And for me, being in a lot of these, like being at the big companies and just listening to people's success story, once I hear that someone has done it, that's it. I believe that I can do it. That's all I need. I just need a real representation, whether it's something I'm watching on YouTube, I remember one time I was in the elevator with Deborah Lee. I didn't even need to talk to her, network with her. I could have gave her, I just needed to be in the elevator with her and just watch her. And I'm like, if this lady is the CEO of such a huge network, I can be whatever I want to be. And that's how I'm able to manifest the things that I want to come into my life, by exposing myself to information and people who've done it, and also having a life that's like, that speaks to it. Like, right now, I'm not famous at all, but I promise you, I'll tell you right now, like, I'll never send out a nude because I'm going to be famous, or I'm not going to, like, I act as if I'm famous. Not act as if, but I move and make decisions based on the future that I'm looking to manifest now.
And people see that, and people would think, like, I feel like I tell my friends this all the time. I think people think I'm more popping than I am. It's like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I'm really out here like trying too, right? Like, I'm not. I haven't made it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about the manifesting thing. So people, I believe in what you guys are saying about the manifesting, but I feel like behind the manifesting is the vehicle that will get you where you need to go, which is your habit and routine. Because the routine and habit is the machine that will take you where you need to go. So manifesting is like the window, but the engine is a routine and habit, because your habit can literally throw you off the cliff if you want the right habit. So like the right eating habits, the right habits to basically progressing your business, so like for example, for my habits, I make sure I try to eat less meat, because for me, meat, I feel as though meat slows me down a little bit, but I still eat the meat, no chicken. But what I try to do is I try in the morning, I try to juice in the morning, so my blood flow is moving. Try to work out in the morning at 5 a.m. just to get in the mental right state, and then try to make the key meetings with like people that I need to talk to, because if you don't have like a structured type of habit, like it don't matter what time of the day you wake up, honestly. If you don't have like a routine and habit of things you do that you know that's going to progress your business, then all that manifesting is going to stay right there.
Right.
If you don't have that engine pushing you to the right direction.
Yes, that's
so
true.
true. I used to wake up in the morning and like it was a little hack I had of like just do 5 minutes of something physical every morning when you wake up. But even if it's just like 30 push-ups, it could be 10 push-ups. By just saying the night before, all right, when I wake up, I'm gonna do 10 push-ups and then start my day. You're already giving yourself like a little, like it's like a small win, a small confidence boost. Like, oh, I did that, I could do something else. So it's kind of like what you're saying, having those routines, having those habits that, for me, I have to trick myself into thinking like I'm successful by having these small wins.
Yeah.
It might be like, it might seem corny. It's like, y'all just did 10 push-ups.
No, that's real. And you know what it helps with? It helps with anxiety. Like one thing I learned is like with purpose, we feel like, sometimes we try to tie our purpose to this big end goal. Like I'm going to be this big television host. I'm going to have this big business. Where purpose is really, I always tell people time is man-made. There's no such thing as a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. God didn't make that. He just made us and we go as the days come. All we know is the sun come up, sun come down. So every day we have to do something that is purposeful for that day. It don't necessarily have to connect to what you think is going to happen 20 years from now, because as much as you can have a goal, you can't, what they say, God laughs at the man with the plan, or what's the quote?
God plan, you plan, God laughs, something like that.
Man makes plans.
All that good stuff. Yeah. So I realize it's so crazy because, when I'm really overwhelmed with anxiety and I don't know what it's over, it's just like, you have your days like, why am I not rich yet? I woke up poor again. Why am I not successful? I would do a to-do list. And literally my to-do list will have stuff as small stuff like throw out the garbage, read this page today. Go to the Social Security office and get a new Social Security. Small things like that. But when I check them all off, I literally feel so accomplished and like as if that same television show I feel like that same gratification I think I would get when I reach my end goal or my dream. I get that same gratification by just completing those 5 simple tasks for the day.
Yeah.
So I think that helps with the anxiety I feel like a lot of us millennials go through.
No, that actually does help. I do the same thing. I honestly, throwing out the garbage is like a big win for me too.
Terrible. Your wife is going to hate you. Your future wife is going to hate you.
I'm getting better.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by. I feel like we could talk about this on and on, but I want y'all to leave some of our listeners with some gems that you learned on your journey and which you're still currently learning.
Ooh, okay, you put me in a hot seat. I think the biggest one is like you cannot be afraid to promote yourself. You cannot be afraid to tell people what it is that you're doing and what it is that you want and how you think they can help them.
Right.
How you think they can help you. That's something that I was really big on. And I really credit myself. Well, I really credit it to me working in career services when I was at Princeton. And we had to do the personal statement stuff. Like we were really big on having your personal statement, having your little elevator speech on deck, so you know how to articulate who you are, what you're doing and what you're trying to do and what you're looking for. And throughout my journey, I've just been like a broken record with telling people I'm Rana, Dreams and Drive, Rana, Dreams and Drive, right?
Yeah,
people know like Rana Red, Dreams and Drive, like, they just connected.
Right.
And I think that has helped because you never know who's going to try to advocate for you when you're not in the room.
Right.
And I want people to always know who I am and what I'm looking for and how they could possibly be an asset or a vehicle for me to achieve my dreams. I think a lot of people are so scared to talk about themselves. Like, don't be scared to promote yourself.
Yes.
Don't be scared to tell people what you're doing. Don't be scared to do that, because I'm telling you, there are people out there. The main reason why I started my podcast was I used to do blogging. I used to write the interviews, put them on my website. And this guy interviewed, I told him I want to start a podcast, and he was like, so what's stopping you? then I have to think. And he's like, there are people out there who are less qualified than you, who aren't even as smart as you, who are out here doing podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yo.
That's real.
That's deep.
That's real. That's
Like, you
so
know, like, I
real.
think about even like rappers, right? There's a whole bunch of, in my opinion, bad rappers. But they out here and they hustling,
Right.
they making videos, they're getting their friends together, and they're growing. Like, you gotta believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I think it
you
really
got to
goes,
get out your own head and like
Yeah.
be able to step outside of yourself.
especially in a world of leaving your 9 to 5. When you do decide to do it, it's gonna be a lot of people trying to throw rocks at you in the sense of mental rocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta have those blinders on and just know who you are. And when
Yes.
you know who you are, when you believe in yourself, that's gonna help be the fuel that will help you navigate as you're like dipping and dodging all the rocks.
Right.
So that's what I learned personally.
Oh my God, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I just want to piggyback off that. A lot of times I feel like we wait for that stamp of approval from this imaginary figure. Like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of times we don't realize if you say you are a podcaster, you're a podcaster. You don't have to wait till the podcaster guys who does not exist come and tell you, yes,
Yes.
now we officially jumped you in, you're now a podcaster. I know that's something I really struggle with, but it wasn't until social media helps that. The more your social media forces you to put yourself out there. And what you realize is how it works is the more you put yourself out there, people know you for who you say you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it really just takes for you to solidify it, not someone else to put that stamp of approval on you. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Kevin,
So what was the question again?
what is a gem that
A
you
gem?
learned on this journey of?
Alright, so the gem I learned in this journey was to just know who you are and don't let anybody else tell you who you are, because you're gonna come in this road where people are gonna try to discredit you and try to disrespect you and to your passion, because sometimes they can do it out of spite or they may have a good reason, but you just gotta know who you are as a person and listen to that inner voice, because if you are doing something and it don't feel right, you shouldn't be doing it. But if you have no choice but to do it, find a way to even work on your project part-time, even a little bit, even a little habits. Right after work, probably put an hour, half an hour. Put time into your passion, because your passion is what keeps you alive. If you're not going into your God-gifted seed inside you, you're going to feel miserable, and you feel like you're going to be like a zombie, a walking dead zombie. And you do not want to do this. With this gift that God gave everybody to express themselves, there's people who's going to try to oppress you. But you need to find a way to work in that passion. If you don't know what your passion is, try to do creative things during the weekend to figure out what keeps you alive, what lights your eyes up. Because if you don't follow that passion, you're not gonna like who you become. Because when you enter a job, you gotta ask yourself how much. You don't ask yourself how much I'm making. You gotta ask yourself who am I becoming. So at the end of the day, from what I've learned and what I try to keep myself grounded is I constantly listen to philosophy book. It's really good to listen to Stoic books, because Stoic is what the Romans used to help run the Roman society on how to have a Stoic philosophy. I'm always listening to self-help books from like the 20s, like Rich Dad Poor Dad. No, how to get rich. No. Napoleon Hill, he has a book.
Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, this one blank. He also has this. And I also listen to Robert Greene. He changed my life the most.
The 50 Immutable Laws of Power.
He got 50 Laws of Power, 48 Laws of Power, 33 War Strategies, The Art of Seduction, and Human Behavior. If you listen to those books, you see, I feel like every entrepreneur should listen to Robert Greene, because or if you don't want to read audiobooks, because he shows you a world that you can't see. Because there's a lot of so when you're talking to people, don't really pay attention to the words, but look at their body movement, look at the subtle movement and the body language, because that's the real world that people don't see, because they're so focused on the words and they're in their own head. Get out your own head and look into the other person and see what they're actually trying to tell you, because people are always in their head and ready to say the next thing, not actually listening. So that's like one of the major things that I can say is, if you want to expand your world, invest in yourself, listen to the audiobooks, and follow your passion, or else you will be oppressed.
And there's nothing you can't figure out.
Yes.
There is nothing you can't figure out, and sometimes you gotta try to figure it out first before you go and ask people to help you.
Yeah.
That's one thing I hate
When someone asks a question that they
like,
could
did
just
you Google
Google.
it? Like,
That's how you know you're not really passionate
yeah,
about
like
what you're
you
doing.
really have to become. I think in this world or in this space of entrepreneurship, you have to become obsessed in the figuring out. Because as you said, you don't necessarily have to know how to do it, but you have to know how to figure out how to do it, right? Or know how to get the right people in your team to help you. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned. It's like, don't be afraid of the unknown. Don't be afraid of like the big block, because you could punch your way through it. You could kick your way through it. There's ways to get through it. But you just have to be invested in actually trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I think that's what separates, like, you know, I always say, like, there's dream killers and there's the doers or the dreamers, right? It's like people who actually want to do it are going to figure it out. And if you find yourself like stuck in the I don't know, then you have to really question, like, is this really for you?
Yeah.
Are you really about this life? You about it, or you not?
Or you not? No, that's real. And just to piggyback off of you both, because I know we talked a lot about passion and purpose, and a lot of those P words scare people because a lot of people may not know what their passion is or what their purpose is. And I listened to this podcast on Super Soul Conversations with my girl Oprah, and it was about, basically, I can't remember who the guest was on the show, but it's about being curious enough to just figure it out on your own. Like, I feel like a lot of times on earth we waste a lot of our time trying to get to know other people and die not even knowing ourselves. You just got to be curious enough. Try a new job, try a new activity. You see a random flyer looking for volunteers, go. Like, I think for me, you had this similar story. Well, you graduated with your sociology degree. I started off as a psych major, and the way I got to college as a psych major is like, I need to go to college. I didn't have the grades, and I had this crazy idea that if you didn't pick your major, then you won't get picked for a college. So I remember we did an activity in my theater class, and my theater teacher made everyone go around, and whoever worked with me tell me something that they think that I'm good at. And it's like, she's great to talk to, she gives good advice. She's great to talk to, she gives good. That was the same thing across the board. So there's like, they're psychologists. I'm like, don't really know what the hell they do besides help crazy people, but okay. And in my third psychology class, I was getting straight A's, and I was just sitting here like, first of all, I'm African, and I knew, like, I got to get a job after this. I'm spending all this money on school. These loans are going in my name. So it was like, do I really see myself sitting behind a desk and talking to people and their problems all day long? I said, nah. And instantly, I remember I was a theater performer art student in high school, but I never really took it seriously. And a friend was like, oh, I'm writing this play. Do you want to be in it? Sure, I ain't got shit else to do. Did it, and literally in my audition, the theater teacher was like, what is your major? I was like, psychology. No, you're changing it right now to theater. And then I changed it to theater, but it's like, I'm not really into I can go up and act, but I'm like not passionate about it. You know, theater people, they serious about their craft. So I'm sitting here with these thespians, and I'm like, it is not that deep right now. I'm waiting to go to lunch. So that's when I would have like my advisor would ask me like to present different speakers that would come to the university. It's like, you should be a communications major. That's how I got my major. And even my first internship with MTV, I was literally sitting with a random person in the cast, and he was just like, oh, I intern for MTV. I said, oh, how did you get that? I'm going to go do it. Like, just be curious enough to just try new things, and they'll lead you to your passion. And one thing I always say, your passion is not a career title. It is your it factor that you're born with. Thank you guys so much for stopping by.
Of course.
Thank you, Kadi.
That was a reason. How y'all doing out here tonight?